we're celebrating a centennial year. We're celebrating 100 years this year of Peninsula State Park Golf Course. And it started out back in 1914. There was talk from the Ephraim Men's Club about starting a golf course in town.
After 1914, things started to kick off when A.E. Doolittle, who was the superintendent of the park at the time, was authorized to set aside 2 separate tracts of land, both 60 acres, one in Fish Creek and one here in Ephraim.
Once they stopped trying to make 2 courses, which was just over the top, but there were a lot of people who were really interested in golf and they wanted a little country club.
As things progressed, the Ephraim Men's Club was kind of taking over that managerial role of the Ephraim golf links, at least. They put together a committee that was consisted of 3 people. Henry Adolph Anderson, who descendant of the Anderson family. Ole Olson, who was another early steamship agent in Ephraim at the time, and Elias Helgeson as well. What would become the established 6-hole course was first planned the following year in 1921.
And when they first started, that whole area back there had precious little trees. I mean, a few little trees. So they had 6 holes and it kind of went back and forth.
In 1923, the first 9 holes were completed under E.F. Folda's management, though they had sand greens, and that problem of watering without irrigation remained a barrier to having a full grass course.
There's a couple of different versions of the 9-hole golf course. Alex Cunningham was, I believe, the second golf pro here at Peninsula, and he was the original developer of what is now today our hole number 8. Back then, when it was a 9-hole golf course, it was hole number 4. So we played the original 6 down below, but then there was 2, 3, and 4 were located on the upper side of the property.
What I do remember about the old 5th hole across the street, there wasn't any traffic for so many years. And we didn't think anything about going across the street and playing that hole and then walking back across the street again. And the 5th hole was a beautiful hole. I think it was one of the prettiest on the golf course, teeing up high and then hitting to a green that's in a grove of trees. It was a pretty hole. And of course, that's where the par 3 is today. We hit blindly from hole 2. And the tee, I always remarked what a beautiful tee it was, hand-built of stone by the CCC during the Depression, along with many things in the park, beautifully built.
Incidentally, the resorters started in 1925, soon to be a 100-year for the resorters. Well, then in the 30s, they still looked at more open land that existed up there. Yes, there were trees, but we only can guess as to where the trees were.
In the 1930s, we went to an 18-hole layout. Kind of unique, kind of a different feel to the golf course from what you see today. Some of the different things that you had back then. Holes 12 and 17, 2 par 3s were side by side. Hole number 10 and hole number 18 were side by side. Today we have a beautiful hole that goes down to the water and dog legs to the left, but back in the day it was parallel to the 18th hole up on top. So a lot of changes from what we currently see today. And today's layout happened in the 1960s. There was a transition that happened in the 1960s with a designer, a golf course architect by the name of Lawrence Packard, who was a Ephraim resident at the time, came up and had some ideas for the people and came up and designed the property that we are playing as of today.
Then it was in late 60s that the driving range came into existence, middle to late 60s. And then when we asked for the short course and began to build it, then we called that whole area the Golf Learning Center. And so it includes the short course, it includes the driving range, the putting, and those facilities over there. So it's really evolved from a little tiny 6-hole course over here to a full-blown 18-hole course, plus an area that's made for people to learn. That's the evolution.
The course was pretty bad, but that's before anybody but park workers worked in here. They were golf course architects. I mean, we had some golf course architects and we had some new holes, but nobody really knew how to take care of it, and there wasn't much of a watering system.
We needed a new irrigation system badly to do anything with the golf course. If the course was in good shape, people would come. The PGA has to take over the entire golf course. This is a big, big deal for the DNR, a really big deal. So Tom Blackwood wanted this to happen.
When you're dealing with the people in the Madison office, I don't know if they really had any concept of what was going on up at Peninsula with this golf course. I had to manage up a little bit and let them know that this is a wonderful facility here. It's going to make a lot of money.
We and Tom would kind of be at butting heads between the state and the park as far as funding and all the things that we wanted to do. But in the end, we both worked it out, and it worked out really well. And we got good cooperation.
So eventually we got a deal with them that we would take over the golf course, and with our first big job is to redo the irrigation system.
I think aesthetically, the layout and everything was always there. And getting the water in, the watering system was the absolute key to, having green fairways. That really made it beautiful.
Peninsula Golf Association is a very special organization. It's a nonprofit organization since 1982. It became a 501c3 in 2004. Part of our agreement with the state of Wisconsin, with our lease arrangement, is to operate the property, pay the bills, pay the staff, and at the end of the season, whatever remaining money is left over after you get through the winter and you're getting into the next year, those monies go back into the golf course in terms of improvements.
We're looking at hole 7 green as one of our next projects. Again, trying to make that a little bit more friendly to the user in terms of how they are able to approach that green, be able to bounce balls in. 17 has been a conversation forever. One of the quirks of the golf course, right, the sledding hole, if you will, but it's a very severe green that certainly impacts pace of play. I think we want to look at, is there a way to improve that and keep all of the things that make it unique and interesting intact?
We just had a group of people who really knew about golf. So it wasn't just being run sort of haphazardly like it had been.
People just think grass grows, you cut grass, and you water grass, and that's all it takes to run a golf course. But it's the little things. I mean, you got to have a good irrigation system. You have to have good equipment. You have to have good people that know how to maintain the equipment. You have to have good management, like our golf course superintendent, Mike Becker, who is constantly the eyes on the ground and out in the golf course doing all the little things that make us different than most properties.
We kind of talked about the pace of play and kind of what we need to see out there, and it all comes down to the return customer and people feeling good when they leave the property. We took the rough areas, which is the outside areas from the fairways and around the greens, and we dropped the height in cut so then you can always find your golf ball. Because we have a lot of wide areas out here that if you hit your golf ball in a certain spot, you'll be driving around looking for it, but you actually drove past it. So now you can actually see your golf ball as you're approaching and everybody else's golf ball, so you can always help out, point out. So that helps out with the pace of play. We have big rough mowers that cut 12, 13 feet wide at a swath and down to trim triplexes and stuff like that. So the golf course equipment from when I first started and the evolution to what we have today is totally night and day. We're in and out of here, and a lot of people don't have an idea that we have as many machines in that barn that we do, and the kinds of machines, because they don't ever get to see them. They get to see some of the bigger machines that maintain the outside areas, but they don't get to see the greens mowers and the tee mowers and the fairy mowers and the bunker rake and stuff like that. We're in the middle of the night and out before anyone really sees us. Short course is quite the gem of a little property. The greens are like the perfect size for what's over there. It's all playable. You got pretty good roll, and the golf course is maintained with the same equipment that we use on the main course. As a learning center, and even for people that want to improve their game, that are already accomplished players, they can go over there and feel confident that they're not just playing miniature golf. So to say, it's a real golf feel on a small property.
I love playing that little course. It's perfect for a starter course for juniors, but it's plenty challenging enough for somebody who's been in the game for a long time too. So it's kind of reminds me of the version of the red putter. The red putter miniature golf is difficult, but anybody can play it.
It's got greens as good as what we played on tour, so it's just when I look at it, I can't believe it, because I remember the long grass and the rocks and the dust. what a beautiful spot to have kids with their grandparents when I drive by with these little bags on their back. It's just great. Jason Dobner, he said, yeah, do you still want to give lessons? And yeah, do you still want to do junior golf? Sure. So we've got a first tee program 10 weeks every Wednesday. And our pro Matt is heading that up, which is Matt Stoddard, which is fantastic. And Jason helps out. I volunteer to do it too. So we do that, and then this little junior camp we've done with the help of the Bells twice a summer, 4 days, and 3 days of instruction, and then we get to play. Bill and Carolyn Bell were actually very good friends. They loved being here at Peninsula Park. And when Carolyn passed away, their son and daughter-in-law wanted to give back to Peninsula money for the junior program to continue. So we use that. The kids get to play free if they come to our camp for the rest of the summer. We buy equipment that they can have and use during our camps and during our first tee program. So coming here, it meant everything to me, everything. It gave me, it gave me a new vision for myself and for Doug, who had put in a lot of sacrifice for me to play golf.
I've thought about this, and I think a kid who used to work here, Shane Kwiatkowski, he's a Door County guy, he went off to play golf in college. And he played all over the country and played beautiful courses. And when he came back after a couple of years in college, we said, Shane, what's the best course you ever played? And he said, Minzo. It's Peninsula, it's sacred. Minzo, it's sacred. And that's how I feel about it. It's just hallowed ground. You know, it's just beautiful, and it's a community, it's people, it's golfers, it's the people that have worked here. We had people in their 90s in that starter booth. So it was this continuum of people that worked here, that played here, the resorters, people that come back every year to play our famous tournament in early August. You know, their families would come, and you'd see them once a year. And so it's just a feeling, and they have that special feeling about it. So I think it means that to a lot of people, and people will come and say, oh, we always spend our anniversaries here, or I've been coming here since I was a kid. I was a caddy here. There are people that were caddies back in the day.
When I'd make reservations, or whether it was early in the year or in March, if there was someone I didn't hear from who was a regular, I was aware of it. You know, you get to know, you know these people. And I remember calling Colorado, and I said, hey, I haven't heard from your dad. I was talking to his daughter. And she says, oh, Dad passed away a couple of months ago. And you know, what do you say then? That only happened to me twice in all these years, when I'd call and the person that I wanted to get wasn't going to be back.
I love the historical nature of Door County and how it's kind of frozen in time in a lot of ways. You know, you don't have the big box stores. You don't have, it's all mom and pop. It's got that kind of mom and pop feel.
Well, the people treat you like part of the family. They look forward to you coming up there every year because we've done it for so many years.
The staff has been great, and just coming in and just feeling like old home, and you know, it feels like your club.
We had a lovely starter who was just this elegant older gentleman, and a guy came off of 18, and he came up to him and he said, I just played the course, and Harvey said, yes. He said, I lost my ball on 18 in the woods, and Harvey said, oh. And he said, here's my name and address, and if someone finds it, could you please send it to me? And Harvey, being such a gentleman, just said, okay, thank you.
They used to just have these funny little tournaments and things that went on, and special cups that they had, and tournaments that they had. Well, you can see it when you have looked around here at the benches that are out that commemorating like Spencer Gould, Liz Gould, Phyllis Shelmo. Maybe someday I'll have a bench. Who knows?
Because the course is so special and the views are so beautiful and it's in a special place, that if you were part of it, even in a group or just coming to play, it was, it brought people together.
I really think it's the best game, especially a game that you can age with.
You gotta love the course, you gotta love the land, you gotta love this incredible scenery. And I don't know, people that have to work here in this clubhouse and look across the bay and see Ephraim, there's so much here. I'm still hooked on that.
I enjoyed it so much, to my dying day, I'll never regret all the years I spent at Peninsula.
A unicorn of a golf course. We put all the proceeds and all the money goes back into the course, and you can see it in the quality of the landscape and the quality of everything. It's not like your typical public course. You know, from the management, like Jason on down, to everybody that works here, it feels like a family.
Hey, you guys want to hear a joke?
Sure. Yeah.
Why did the golfer bring 2 pairs of pants to the golf course?
I don't know.
In case he got a hole in one. You want to hear another joke?
Sure. Yeah.
How many golfers does it take to change a light bulb?
I don't know.
4!
That's it.